Hi everyone, and welcome to part 2 of this mini-series on overcoming the barriers to success. So if you haven't watched part 1, I recommend you go back and watch that, the introductory video. And in that video we covered what we think is consciously holding us back, and we mentioned that the conscious things that we helping us back, and willpower and motivation, and it, knowing what we want, being determined, is actually really responsible for only about 5% of the results that we achieve in life. But actually below the iceberg, 95% of what is really happening in our life is being controlled by things which are outside of our conscious awareness. So in this video we're going to start talking about some of those things. So barrier number 1 is our environments. So what happens is, as young children, we develop survival strategies because we're actually dependent on our caretakers for our survival. We can't survive on our own, and this is particularly for human beings because, I could go into the theory of it, is because when we were roaming the savannas in years and years ago, so humans started standing up on 2 feet, rather than being on 4 feet, and as a result, the pelvis got smaller, and whereas at the same time the human brain was head was getting bigger because it needed a bigger brain to survive, and so as a result, how would a bigger head fit through a smaller pelvis, meant that human beings are actually born really premature compared to other animals, and so as a result of that, we rely on our caretakers for a prolonged period of time. And I mean, with human race, that's normally up to at least 16, 18 years old, before we're actually really able to cope on our own. That's how society is set up. So I'll just list a few examples of how our environment can actually, be having a great influence. So the first point is society or our culture. So for example, in Greece, I had a client who's from Greece, and she said they have a saying that roughly translate to that it's better to lose an eye than to lose your name. So in other words, if you take certain paths and certain career choices in life, and people are thinking badly of you, that to them that's terrible. They'd rather almost rather lose an eye than to have that shame of falling upon themselves and upon their families. And the second factor is our families and our ancestors. So for example, you may have in your family the kind of unspoken beliefs or ideas that there are only certain careers that are worthy of, recognition and, worth something. For example, you may come from a family of people who are doctors, teachers, surgeons, police, lawyers, these very traditional careers, and you may believe that you may have this sort of feeling that's been put on you that if you go outside of those, that you're not worthy somehow. And the third factor is events, or you could call them traumas, that happen in your life. So for example, you may have done really well at school, and then what may have happened was you experienced jealousy, and then other people would try to hurt you because they didn't like the fact that you had done better. That could be one example. Another example could be that you did well, and then you were kind of left to it, or you were kind of left on your own, and you may have had a sibling that then got more attention and more care and things like that. So you may have subconsciously thought, I don't really like the results that happen when I'm really successful. Or when you're really successful, you may have felt different to other people. You may have felt separate. you may have felt like you didn't fit in, you may have felt not quite normal, and so you think, oh no, being part of a social group is kind of a basic, not kind of, it's a basic human need. And so you may have subconsciously kind of dumbed yourself down or almost purposely sabotaged yourself in order to fit in. So I'll just end this video with an exercise for today, which you can do until the next video, which is to do with your beliefs. So we'll review this in the next video, but in the meantime, if you could, our beliefs can get in the way of what we're doing in our lives. They're very powerful. So I'd like you to just write down consciously what beliefs you have about successful people. If you think of some very successful people that you know, or in your family or friends, or people that you knew from your school or college or university, or people in the workplace, that are very successful, or people you see on TV, and just write down what your thoughts are, like what you're thinking about these people. How do you think they achieve success? And it'll be really interesting. Next video we can review what came up about what your thoughts are about successful people, and what you think it takes to be successful. So I encourage you to write that down and be curious as to what comes up, and I'll catch you in video 3.